Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Are you ready to win free trips? We're going to be giving away $1,500 in free stuff, talking fishing, answering your questions, and giving away lots of things. Plus, doing some announcements, talking about what's going on, what's coming up, the weather, and more. Hopefully, you're excited for another great show. We do this every Sunday night. We give away a 5-hour half day for two, a 10-hour all day for two, a 39-hour trip for one lucky winner, and that Hubbard's Marina swag pack. That's right. It's our Sunday night Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard live stream show. We do this every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. and hopefully you're going to enjoy the show, and hopefully we'll see you next week and every week coming up during this Sunday night 7:30 hour. Now, we are going to start off the show like always. We talk a little bit about our friends who make this show possible, and then we get right into your photos of show you what we've been catching inshore, then nearshore, then offshore. Then we get into the weather a little bit, and then we talk about what's going on, what's coming up, and then we get into your questions. So, a few things first. If you want to know how to win free trips, all you have to do is comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So if you want to have a chance to win free trips, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on Instagram, you can watch on YouTube, but in order to be eligible to win, you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Then once you're commented, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on Instagram, wherever you want to watch, and then stay tuned, because in order to win, you do have to claim your free trip and prove you're watching live. So you have to comment one time in order to be eligible to win. Then you have to stay tuned, because if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, your name will appear on the screen, and you've got 5 minutes or less to then text us your full home address to claim your free trip and prove you're watching live. So watch live, comment once, and then it helps if you like the page, like the stream, share the stream. We always appreciate that as well. Now, also want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Make sure you stop by and see our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. If you bring a young angler with you, you get a free gift. All you have to do is tell them, again, Hubbard's Marina sent you, and that is what enables you to get that free gift for the young angler who comes with you. Also, want to make sure we give you their address, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by to see them yet, you're missing out. Just a crazy selection, killer deals, awesome people. You really don't want to miss a chance to see how much crazy selection they do have. It's stuffed to the gills, and it is absolutely amazing. So check it out. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Again, our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to all of those in our supporters group. If you haven't checked out our supporters group yet, you're missing out. It's only $4.99 a month. You get some behind the scenes info, you get advanced communication, and you get access to our private supporters group. So check it out, or you get access to our private supporters after show. After every live stream show, we do a private supporters show, and that is in that private group. So check it out, and definitely think about joining, because it's worth the $4.99 a month to get that behind the scenes info, that added communication, and that added after show as well. Now, we also have a new partner on board, Innovative Pools and Spa, and they are a giveaway sponsor. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that during one of the giveaways tonight. But first things first, let's get right into those questions, or right into those photos, and show you guys what we've been catching. Remember, if you do have a question you want answered live during the show, shoot us a text message to the phone number on the screen with your question, because the comments, they go too fast. We're streaming live on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, all these different places, Trovo, Twitch, so we don't get to see all the comments. So if you want to make sure your comment gets seen, you have a chance to get your question answered live during the show, drop it in a text message to the phone number on the screen. So with that, let's pop right into these photos and show you guys what we're catching inshore. We'll start inshore, then we'll work our way near shore and offshore. Right now, inshore, definitely seeing these black drum around. Black drum fishing has been pretty darn good around the mangroves. The schoolie size black drum are pretty active on the flats and mangroves. Bigger black drum around the bridges, docks, and passes. You can see here definitely a solid black drum from around the bridge area of John's Pass. We're seeing quite a few of these big black drum. Live shrimp work, but typically you're going to see them more on the stinkier crustaceans, right? So cut crabs, dead crabs, big dead shrimp, all good options for the black drum. The smaller ones are actually pretty darn good eating. Bigger ones don't really recommend. Also been seeing some nice pompano action. Pompano action has been super spotty, very hit and miss, but they are around, and when you get into them, generally you see quite a few of them, which is nice. Seeing some solid redfish around as well. The redfish action is starting to concentrate a little bit. This is the time of year we start to see those redfish school up more and more, and especially that added fresh water to our estuary. It has them moving around a lot more and concentrating, seeing some nice ones caught throughout our area from the pass to the jetty, to the docks, to the flats. It does not seem to matter. The redfish have been pretty darn prolific throughout our area, which is cool to see. And the snook action going real well. We're seeing some transition in the snook. They're definitely on the move a little bit. They've been on the beaches and in the passes all summer. We're still seeing quite a few of them. This morning, I would say, was probably the quickest snook hookup that I've seen in a long time. Brian Harris, our bait guy, snook opened today, so snook is open for harvest for a short period of time, and he loves him some snook. So we were just about ready to load for the 10-hour all day, about maybe 6:40 this morning, and he took a pinfish, hooked it on a little jig head, and this pinfish literally touched the water. I turned my head and turned back, and his rod was bent. He was hooked up with a little underslot snook, but pretty cool to see such an active snook bite around the pass right now. A lot of tarpon around. We're seeing quite a few tarpon out on the jetty. If you are a Hubbard's Marina TikTok fan, which hopefully you're a follower on our TikTok channel, we've been posting a lot of TikTok videos lately, and this morning we posted a video of a little pod of tarpon cruising west of the jetty. Almost every day when I take the drone up and see the boats go out, we're seeing some pretty nice little pods of tarpon moving around, and today we had one cooperate and kind of roll for us, so it was pretty cool to see. A lot of tarpon around the bridges lately, and along the beaches we see those loner pods. Smaller schools, definitely not quite as many tarpon around, but they're not getting as much pressure, so they feed a little bit more actively. Big trout here. Very solid trout for the time of year. So warmer water conditions still isn't slowing down our trout bite, which is great to see. So some solid trout action, deeper flats, edges, potholes. That's a really good flat these folks are fishing, and if you can tell from the background, good for you, but that is one of my favorite areas for sure. So inshore bite is going really well throughout the area. You just got to time your trips around the tides right now. That new moon was earlier in this past actually the new moon is tomorrow, sorry. So earlier in the weekend, we saw a really nice outbound tide in the morning, or inbound tide in the morning, come into a high tide around maybe mid-morning, and then we see a nice strong outbound most of the afternoon. That inbound tide in the morning is generally a good time to get out there and capitalize that right before sunrise and right after sunrise, before the heat of the day sets in. If you're going to go inshore fishing, that's the time to do it. New moon incoming tide bite is definitely a good option. Moving near shore and offshore, hogfish action has been pretty good. We saw some photos from today's 10-hour. Haven't had a chance to put them in here. You guys will see those next week. But pretty solid hogfish on today's 10-hour. and a couple more of them too. They did pretty well on the 10-hour today. These are from a recent 5-hour private fishing charter on the Hub. You can see here on the 10-hour catching some nice mangrove snapper. That's how you know they're biting really well, when Jose is catching them too. Some big mangrove snapper here from some of our rental rod guests, doing well out there, and some solid mangrove snapper action. Lots of lane snapper around too. We're seeing some big lane snapper biting pretty well for us, but the mangrove snapper have been solid. We got the other day on the 39-hour 2 wahoo. This was one of the smaller wahoo, and this was the bigger wahoo. So a lot of pelagic action offshore right now. And seeing some really beautiful fish. Look at that wahoo. That was actually caught reeling in another fish at the very start of one of the fishing spots on the recent 39-hour trip. This was our last 39-hour of red snapper season. And we've put an end to red snapper season. But we'll get into the seasons here shortly. Nice cobia action. So definitely pelagic action is possible. We've seen cobia, blackfin tuna, and wahoo this past week. And some catch and release red grouper. Red snapper season is coming to, or has come to an end, but we still have some nice red snapper from the end of season that we want to show you guys. And we've got triggerfish open right now. We've got scamp grouper open right now. We've got literally everything out there open right now except red snapper and red grouper. So lots of opportunities to go catch them up right now. Also want to make sure we remind you about some upcoming events. This coming September 12th, Thursday, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., I will be over at Shooter's World in Tampa. That is 116 East Fletcher Avenue. I will be speaking there on this Vote Yes on Amendment 2. So if you want to come join us, this is a fundraiser event. You can scan the QR code there. So take a screenshot if you want, and you can scan the QR code and join us at that fundraiser event. It's going to be pretty cool. One of the FWC commissioners will be there, Preston Ferrier, and I will be having the opportunity and the honor to speak as well. So definitely going to be fun. And then also, speaking of events, we've got October 8th. We've got the Bartow Ford event, and I will be speaking at that event too with Captain Travis Thompson and Captain Mike Anderson. So we'll have a panel, Captain Mike, Captain Travis, and myself. So you could talk about offshore fishing, you could talk about inshore fishing, you could talk about tarpon fishing, you could talk about turkey hunting, duck hunting, gator hunting. You could talk about FWC stuff, Gulf Council stuff. On 2, it doesn't matter. With that panel, you'll literally be able to ask anything you want, and we'll be able to chat about it. So I'm excited. Again, that's October 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. So that event's going to be free to join and a good time as well. Plus, there's free food there. You'll have the opportunity for free gifts from Real Animals from Hubbard's Marina, and then Bull Bay Rods gives away a rod. Engel Cooler gives away a cooler. We also have some Real Animal swag and stuff like that too. So lots of good opportunities to have some fun. Again, that's October 8th, and that one's at Bartow Ford. So 2 events coming up for you to join. Hurricane. A lot of people freaking out about hurricanes, and I am laughing so hard. So we're going to talk a little bit about hurricanes and why everybody needs to just take a deep breath. It is hurricane season. We are in the peak time of hurricane season, coming into the peak time. We still got quite a bit of ways to go, and you guys need to stop panicking, and you guys got to stop panicking, switching bookings. It is only going to hurt you. So let's get into the weather here and show you what's going on weather-wise. We're going to go to hubbardsmarina.com. We're going to click fishing trips. We're going to scroll down and click weather links. Right on our weather links page, we're going to start right at the spaghettymodels.com website. Our buddy Mike Boylan at Mike's Weather Page has this great website. I want to start by showing you this down towards the bottom. I thought it was down towards the bottom. Where is it? There it is. So this is a nice little graph to remind folks. We are September 1st, so we're right here. We're not at the peak of hurricane season, which is the end of September, early October. Kind of mid-September is the peak. and then it starts slowing down. Generally, our stronger hurricanes are September, October, November. So, guys, we are on the doorstep. Hurricane season is not over. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a slow hurricane season, no hurricanes. So, well, remember, we're coming into that time of year now where tropical systems generally start to kick up. We've been blessed with a lot of Saharan dust that has suppressed a lot of tropical development. So we've been kept safe by all that Saharan dust in the atmosphere. Now the dust is gone, or at least for now it's gone, so it is promoting a little bit more tropical development. So right now in the area, we have 3 spots that we're watching, one kind of off the coast of Texas, which we're not too concerned about. We have this one that everybody is freaking out about. This little orange one only has a 40% chance in the next 7 days. So it's not imminent. It is literally more than a week out, probably 10 days out, and people are literally canceling trips, canceling flights, and freaking out about it. So don't be that person, and we'll talk about the likelihood of what's going on here. Again, only a 40% chance that it's going to develop, and you notice the pattern that it's on right now is heading west. When it heads west, if it develops, then it could possibly pull north. Stronger storms pull towards the poles. So that is a concern as it gets into this area. If it strengthens, it will start to pull north. So when does it strengthen? When does it pull north? That is the question. But most of the models have been flapping back and forth. There has been absolutely no consistency, which is a surefire sign. No one has any idea what this is going to do. So definitely one of those situations where if all the models were showing something and they were consistent run after run after run, then we'd be talking about, hey, this is a concern. But all the models are not consistent, and run after run, they keep changing. So that is a surefire sign that nothing could happen. It could totally be away from us and not affect us at all. Or on the very slim chance, 10, 20% chance, it could come into our area and it might potentially have some effect. But we are seeing a huge, like I've seen 25 people cancel off one overnight trip. So now a sold out gag trip is only half full. So we're going to show you which ones that you can keep an eye on and book if you want some lighter loads, and some premium spots are opening up because people are freaking out and panic canceling. So back to Mike's weather page. We'll look at the models here real quickly, and I'll show you what I mean by flip-flopping. So we're going to start. This is the GFS. Let's change regions because I like a little closer up look. So here is GFS, and this is around September 8th, 7th that they're thinking. All right, there's the wave. So right here. So what does GFS have to do right now? Nothing. Nothing. Goes into the Pacific. Has no effect on our area whatsoever. That is what GFS is showing right now. That is the multi-billion-dollar American model that America has invested billions of taxpayer dollars in. Shows the computer models show it not affecting us at all. We have gorgeous weather. So all these people have canceled for no reason whatsoever. And I'll scroll back in time. That little Gulf spot does nothing. The little Gulf spot they're showing on the National Hurricane Center chart kind of meanders away and becomes part of a low pressure and doesn't really affect our area either. So according to the current model predictions, GFS model predictions, no effect to our area whatsoever. So we'll go to the Euro model. This is the other pretty highly trusted model. So we'll look at this real quick. Gulf spot right here off the coast of Texas. You can see kind of just sits there, doesn't really do much of anything, and just kind of rains itself out. The other spot kind of comes over. Let's see what it does. Yeah, nothing. It doesn't even show it forming anything. The Euro model doesn't. So literally 2 of the most trusted models show our area has nothing to worry about right now. It's pretty good news, right? So we'll go back to the Weather Links page and we'll look at the furthest offshore, deepest buoy, which would typically show the worst possible weather. And you can see here, gorgeous, around the time that storm was supposed to be coming. There is a little bit of a high pressure, maybe some pressure ridging that they're showing, but this is September 9th and 10th. So that's 9 days out. These are just extreme guesses, so really no concern. So if you have a gag trip scheduled, don't be freaking out over the weather. It is a little bit moderate over the second half of this work week into the early weekend with some south winds as that little boundary moves over the state of Florida. But again, nothing really crazy. Very moderate. Looks really nice Monday and Tuesday. A little chance of rain, but that'll kind of keep things a little cooler for us, which is nice. Thursday gets a little bit more chunky, but totally doable. Friday is a little bit more breezy, but totally doable. None of this makes me concerned, except for until we get into September 10th. That might pick up a little bit, but again, that is not enough to cancel a 39-hour trip. It might affect the Flying Hub 2 at 2.5 foot, but not bad enough to really make us cancel. And again, that is 9 days away. Things can really change. So don't freak out. Things are looking up. And long story short, weather-wise, in this area, this time of year, you really can only look at the forecast 2, 3, 4 days out. If you're flying in from out of state, I realize it's more concerning for you. You have to have a little bit more advance notice, but with flight insurance, which everybody should get flight insurance. If you're booking a fishing trip, you have to get in an airplane to go to a fishing trip. Weather can always become an issue, so you always want to get flight insurance. Generally, you have about 24 hours, 36 hours. Some of the worst flight insurance gives you 48 hours. So if you're going to be flying out for a trip, wait until the last minute, because a lot of times that weather can totally change and then end up really nice. So, for example, that Tuesday, let me pull it up here. That Tuesday 39-hour trip, where is there it is. So Tuesday, September 10th was, again, totally sold out. Now we have 16 open spots. Sunday, September 8th was totally sold out. Now we have almost 20 open spots. So a lot of openings Tuesday, September 10th, and Sunday, September 8th on the 39-hour trips. This Tuesday we have 9 spots open. This Friday we have 10 spots open. So a lot of people are canceling off. A lot of people were upset they didn't have an opportunity for these 39-hour trips. But now there's plenty of room. There's plenty of opportunities. And also we've added more extreme trips because people were really excited about those extreme trips to go get those gag grouper. We're crushing the fish out there on the extreme trip. Most of them are sold out, so we added 2 12-hour extremes. That is this Thursday, September 5th, and next Tuesday, September 10th. So September 5th, September 10th, super light load extreme trips. So those will be good ones for you to join as well. So light loads next week on the 39-hour, super light loads on the extreme trip this Thursday and next Tuesday. With that, we talked about what we're catching now. We talked about the weather. We talked a little bit about some light loads for gag grouper season. So let's do our first giveaway of the night. Let's go ahead and do our, let's do the 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. And I mentioned it earlier, we have a new partner on our radio show and the live show. So one of our giveaways is brought to you by Innovative Pools and Spa. They bring over 35 years experience building pools in the Tampa Bay area, and they are continuing the legacy of their father's company, which was recognized as a top pool builder in the Tampa Bay area for 35 years. So if they're continuing to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features, they have an unwavering dedication to excellence in driving them to uphold the highest standards in pool construction integrity. Call them today if you're in the Tampa Bay area for a free quote, 727-788-1650, or visit them at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate and see why Innovative Pools and Spas is the #1 choice for our community. So great people over there, super fishy family, and definitely recommend Innovative Pools and Spa, and big shout out to them for making this giveaway tonight possible. So 10-hour all day for 2, brought to you by Innovative Pools and Spa, goes to Lucky winner is Patty Blackburn from Kentucky. Congratulations, Patty. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address on the screen there to claim your free trip. So text us your address, and that's how you claim your free trip within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So, all right, we talked about the weather, what's going on now, what's coming up. We do have some lighter loads on our 39 hours coming up post-gag season. Remember, Amberjack opened up today as well. So Amberjack opened up today, Snook opened up today, and we had, of course, the gag grouper season open up today. So gag grouper season is open September 1st through September 15th. We've got Amberjack open the whole month of September and into all of October. We've got Scamp Grouper open. We've got plenty of mangroves, yellowtails. We're seeing some nice porgies, nice vermilions, lanes. We got so many fish to go out there and catch. The pelagic action with the wahoo, the blackfin tuna, the cobia this past week. So good opportunities even once gag grouper closes. Again, end of day, September 15th, gag grouper closes. We still have plenty of 39-hour trips and lots of light loads if you want to get out there and join us for some Amberjack. All right, so let's get into your questions. What questions do we have to talk about tonight? Remember, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, you do have to go ahead and text us the phone number on the screen. What is available to catch and keep in February? Virtually everything will be open in February next year except for Amberjack, red snapper, gag grouper, and triggerfish generally. So we'd be targeting red grouper, mangrove snapper, yellowtails, that kind of thing. Let's see. What other questions do we have? When will the gag grouper data be open for next year's season? This year's season isn't even over yet. Why are we going to talk about next year's season? But good question. The data for this season, remember MRIP is how they get recreational information, recreational landings, private recreational landings. So that is the Marine Recreational Intercept Program, MRIP. And MRIP works on 2-month waves. So January, February is wave 1. Then you have March, April, wave 2. You have May, June, wave 3. Then you have July, August is wave 4. Then you have September, October, which is wave 5. So wave 5 won't end until the end of October, and it generally takes about 2 months for that data to start coming back to the agency, and then it takes a little while for them to QA, QC, kind of get their ducks in a row before they make that data public. So in reality, we wouldn't expect to hear how the gag grouper season performed this year until about mid-January. And then once that information comes out, they would talk about it at the council meeting. That would be discussed at the January council meeting, most likely in Louisiana. And then from there, they would make a discernment on what the season would be, probably by the April meeting. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything on gag grouper season 2025 until around April, maybe even into May, June. This year we didn't hear about our gag grouper season until the June meeting. So most likely we'd probably see that same thing happen for next year. But we know all things, unless something miraculously changes, which I don't see anything in the horizon that tells me it will, we know it will open September 1st next year, and we won't have the payback, hopefully. If we don't have the payback, if you don't overdo it, if we don't overrun the quota, most likely we're looking at about a month next year. So that's what I'm guessing at, and we'll see how the data comes in, but most likely we'll have pretty much the month of September for 2025 gag season. All right, what is the best bait for a jackpot amberjack? If I was going to catch an amberjack, which I hopefully never will, they fight real hard. They're fun to catch for sure, but they're a lot of work. It's a lot like work. If I wanted to catch the biggest possible amberjack, what I would do is I would go out on a 5-hour half day before your 39-hour trip. So if you're going to go out on a Tuesday 39-hour trip, you could go out on the 5-hour half day before it. Show up at 7 a.m., unload your gear, park your truck, and then load up for that half-day trip with all your 39-hour gear. The half-day goes out there. You fish for 3 hours, only about 9 to 12 miles offshore, and a lot of those fish we catch and keep on the 5-hour, you could catch, and instead of putting them in the fish box on ice, you could put them in the live well and use them for bait on a 39-hour trip. And one of those white grunts or porgies or big squirrelfish, sand perch, we sometimes get some blue runners. You get a lot of heads and tails on the 5-hour half day that some people will take home and eat. And then others we just toss back, like the spot tails, the blue runners, those kind of things. But you could keep those and use them for bait on a 39-hour, and those are going to be great baits. Or if you don't have an opportunity to do that through the nighttime fishing on the 39-hour trip, you could use pieces of squid and try to get porgies, and some porgies worked really well, like knobbed eye porgies. You can't use the pink porgies for bait. You can't use anything that has a size limit or bag limit for bait. Anything that's managed, you can't use for bait. But definitely works really well. Those big live baits are going to be your best option for a big keeper amberjack. A really big, really feisty, really fresh live bait. So that would be my go-to for an amberjack with a 10, 12-aught hook and a 100-pound, maybe even 125-pound, pretty long leader, as long as you can make it. If the trip's a little bit more busy, like if you're going to go during gag season, there's going to be more people on the boat. If you wait till after gag season, second half of September into October, trips are super light. A lot of the 39-hour trips have 18, 20, 25 people on them the second half of September and into October. And then you could get away from everybody and use like a 10-foot leader, a big long leader, and a really feisty tail hooked right above the anal fin live bait with a probably 10 to 14 ounce or even 16 ounce big huge oversized lead, and you drop that down to bottom really slow. What I like to do is put my thumb on there and drop it down like excruciatingly slow. At first I'll drop it down a little faster until I start to see that bait disappear. Once it gets down deep enough, about 80 foot or so, you start to lose sight of the bait. And as soon as you lose sight of the bait, I stop it with my finger, my thumb on the spool, and then I just barely let out line really slowly, because the goal is to work smart, not hard. You want to catch the fish on the top of the water column. That biggest amberjack is going to be at the very top of the school or the very bottom of the school. And if you can catch that amberjack at the very top of the school, that means you don't have to fight him as much, right? If you're fishing 200 foot of water and you only drop it down 80 foot and it disappears, and then you stop it with your thumb and then you slowly let it out a little bit more, and all of a sudden you get a bite 10, 15, 20 feet down, then all of a sudden you're only fighting that amberjack from 100 foot instead of 200 foot. Makes your life a lot easier. Also, he doesn't have a chance to break you off in the bottom as easily. You have a little bit more wiggle room and forgiveness there. So definitely works best. I like dropping it down until I can't see it, then stopping it with my thumb and slowly dropping it down. And then if you start to feel that fish start to freak out, then stop it completely, lock it into gear, and wait. And if you start to feel them bite, let them run a little bit, and then put the hammer down and hook that fish and hold on tight. But definitely fun to slow pitch jig for them too, but that would be a lot of work as well. All right. I hear you talk about inshore, nearshore, and offshore. What are the differences in the three? Everybody has a different definition of inshore, nearshore, and offshore. For us at Hubbard's Marina, in our fishing reports every Friday, we do it on the news at 8:15 a.m. on Fox 13 News. Then we do a little video, and then we do a little write-up. And that write-up gets emailed out, and the video gets put in there too, so you can watch it, you can read it. And we actually have the definitions of inshore, nearshore, and offshore in that little write-up. So for us, inshore is from the beach area to the back bay and upper bay waters. Near shores from the beach out to about 20 miles or about 100 foot. And then offshore is beyond 20 miles, beyond 100 foot. That is my definition of inshore, nearshore, and offshore. But everybody has kind of a little bit of a different definition. So it's always a good idea to ask, or a lot of times in fishing reports, people will kind of give their definitions, and that's what I always try to do. What is a good starter rod for a 9-year-old boy? Depends on what you're doing, how you're fishing, that kind of thing. What I did with my son is I took him over to our local tackle shop, and I got him set up with a spinning rod, something that was going to be really light that he could hold easily, and something that was going to be a little smaller he could get his hand around, and something that was going to have a lot of bend to it, so that way when he hooked a little pinfish or a little mangrove snapper, that rod was going to bend, and he was going to get excited, right? And a little shorter, easier for him to hold and easier for us to transport. So you got to think about it, what your goal is, what are you targeting, how are you going to fish. For me, I knew from 2 years to about 6 years, a lot of it was going to be either on the dock or on the 5-hour half day near shore catching smaller fish. So I didn't need a rod with a lot of backbone. It didn't have to be real strong. So I bought him a little crappie fishing rod first. Then he graduated. He just got a little trout fishing rod, which is a little stiffer, but not much. And he seems to really like that. A little 1000 series spinning reel on it, little 8-pound test braid. And we use a little sabiki rig. I cut it in half and add a little 1-ounce egg sinker on it and tip it with some shrimp, like 3 of those gold hooks, tipped with shrimp. Fish in a dock, it's like almost insta-bite, whether you get a spade fish or a lane snapper or a mangrove snapper or a pinfish. And it keeps them interested, right? Keeps them hooked. So a 9-year-old is a little older. So maybe if they're a little bit more advanced, they're going to be casting more. Maybe you need a little bit of a different setup. I would say 9 years old, if they're already pretty experienced, I would probably go with like a 6, maybe 6.5 foot setup. Something that's a little longer, they can get some good casting distance with, and your budget's going to dictate kind of what you go for. You want to invest a little bit more in the rod than the reel, because the rod is going to give them the casting distance. The rod is going to help them feel the bite. The reel just helps them fight the fish. So your rod should be your bigger investment. So even if your budget's $100, right, you should have more invested in the rod, and make sure you're paying attention to a little bit nicer of a rod, something that they're going to be able to feel that bite with for sure. But you can stop by the marina. We can help you out too and get you lined up. Where do we send pictures to get them on the show? So if you have pictures that are local, recently caught, you can text them to our main office number, the number that's on the screen right here during our live stream show. That's our main office number, and you can text us photos anytime. So if you have photos that you want me to see, if you have photos that you want us to include in our fishing reports, what we do is every Thursday we take all the photos we have and we submit them to Fox 13 News for our Fox 13 segment on Friday morning, and then we take those same photos and we use them Sunday night. So if you send me a photo by Thursday morning, we'll get them into the weekend shows. If you send them after Thursday morning, we'll get them into the next weekend shows. So definitely that is the best way to do it. My name is, when does Amberjack open up? September and October. What is the best jigs and tips for Blackfin Tuna? I recommend the Nomad DTX Minnow or the Rapala X-Rap Magnum 30 or 40 for trolling. Then a lot of blackfin have been caught just reeling up and dropping down. We've also been catching some Blackfin Tuna on the slow pitch jigs. So slow pitch jigging, especially some of those slower fluttery jigs working up in the water column, especially at night. We see a lot of Blackfin Tuna caught on the slow pitch. What are the good trips to get gag grouper? 12-hour extreme trip, 39-hour trip, 44-hour trip. You have a possible chance on a 10-hour, but we don't really target the gags. This time of year, September, the water's hot. Those gags are out deep right now. So definitely recommend a 39-hour, 12-hour extreme. This 12-hour extreme this Thursday has got a super light load on it. Next week, Tuesday's got a super light load on it. So all good options. Or next week, Sunday the 8th, a week from today, or September 10th, both lighter load 39-hour trips as well. With that, let's do another giveaway. We did our 10-hour all day, brought to you by Innovative Pools and Spa. Let's do the swag pack, the Hubbard's Marina swag pack giveaway, and see who won that. Lucky winner is Jerry Farmer from Dayton, Ohio. Congratulations, Jerry. You are the lucky winner of the Hubbard's Marina swag pack. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and your t-shirt size, and we'll get you that Hubbard's Marina swag pack out in the mail. Congratulations, Jerry. All right, so let's get back into the questions here. I know it's a fishing show, but I'm looking for dove hunts. You got anything you could help us out with? Check out our friends over at Duck Ranchin, Duck Ranchin with no G on Instagram, is Captain Travis Thompson's group. They have a pretty good outfit for duck hunting, and they do snipe hunts, they do turkey hunts, they do a bunch of different kind of bird hunts. Travis does alligator hunts. So he could do a little bit of everything, and he'll know someone for a dove hunt if that's what you got your heart set on, for sure. So glad I made it to Final Friday and was able to meet you. That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you made it to Final Friday. Final Friday is always a good time. If you missed out this last Final Friday, we did have Scully's come join us. The Caddies Scully's group has joined Final Friday with us, and they're actually taking over the cooking part of things. So it's brought a little bit more of a professional flair. It's still free. It's still really good food. I think it's just a little bit more unique. The pot is more colorful, really, really interesting. I thought the crawfish was pretty darn good, but you'll have to join us this Final Friday and be a judge for yourself. Let us know how the Final Fridays are doing, because it's a good time every last Friday of every month. Can I use my large spinning reel on the boat on a 5-hour half day or 10-hour all day? Like a 4,000 or 5,000 spinning reel works really well. On longer range trips, 12-hour extremes, 39 hours, we're fishing too deep. I don't recommend spinning reels. They don't work too well because they have a higher gear ratio and they're not set up for bottom fishing. But 12-hour night, you could get away with it. Definitely 5 or 10-hour trips, they're actually kind of the preferred. But I would only use like a 4,000 or 5,000 series spinning reel, so it's a little lighter. When are the king mackerel coming? They like around 72 to 78 degree water temps. So generally we start to see them in October once those cold fronts really start rolling through. What is the farthest a person has traveled to fish at Hubbard's Marina? We have quite a few Canadians. We have quite a few Californians. I know there's quite a few people from like Maine that come fish with us. So I would say probably the southern and northern California folks, maybe some of the people from Canada, but I don't know my Canadian geography too well, so I'll sound silly if I start trying to list Canadian towns or provinces, right? Is that how it works up there? I don't know. I focus on America. No, we have quite a few people that travel from all over the country, quite often, really. We have a family from northern Illinois that comes down probably 2 or 3 times a year. But I would say a majority of our visitors are that 75 corridor, right? Folks generally travel the corridors, so Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Georgia. We don't really see too many like western Alabama. We don't really get too many Mississippi. It's rare you see people from Texas, but we do have some folks come over from Texas. It's generally they follow that 75 corridor is most of our visitors, 90% of our visitors, I would say. Any hot topics on the board for the next council meeting? The next council meeting will be here in St. Petersburg in downtown St. Pete. It'll be in November. Off the top of my head, I forget when it is, but handy dandy. Let's see, it is in November. I think it's the first week in November. Nope. Is it first week in November? Yes, it is. So that is November 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in St. Pete. So it'll be pretty interesting to have the Golf Council meeting right here in our backyard. You can join. It's free. It's open to the public. Anybody can walk in. So it's pretty interesting. Let's see. How much is a 39-hour trip? $499. It is worth it. It's cheaper than 2 nights in a hotel, cheaper than two nights in most hotels, and it's going to give you our hotel will take you 100 miles into the Gulf and give you 20 hours of fishing time and a 2-day bag limit. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Will you be coming? Oh yeah, someone asked, do you come to Bass Pro Shops anymore? Unfortunately, we are not. Bass Pro got a little finicky and tried to kind of force me into a contract that I didn't really want to sign, and I questioned it, and as soon as I questioned it, they just sent me a letter and said, hey, we're not going to renew with you. So it's kind of a corporate animal, right? Either do what we say or get out, and essentially I questioned the corporate animal, and they just said, we're not going to renew with you, which is probably better for the long run. Honestly, it was a lot doing that once a month. We still do events. I got 2 speaking events coming up, September 12th from 5:30 to 7:30 in Tampa, and then October 8th I'll be at Bartow Ford myself. So we still have some opportunities to join each other at these speaking engagements. You can always stop by the Marina and see me too, as well. But no Bass Pro anymore. How can you find open and closed? So open and closed days on Queen, Snowy, and Yellow Edge in Warsaw. There are no open and closed days. They're open year-round, 24/7. But if you go onto our website under fishing trips and click fishing trip information, then you can scroll down to fishing rules and regulations, and you could download the Fish Rules app, or you could just simply view it on the website. The Fish Rules app is going to be your best bet. It is definitely a really cool resource to show you whatever you're looking for. And Fish Rules app actually has contracts with FWC, with the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, with the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, with Gulf States Marine Fisheries Commission. Basically, anybody who manages fish in our region has definitely got a connection with Fish Rules. So they update their regulations right on the app, so it makes it really, really easy to go here and know the app is going to be pretty solid. Sometimes things don't get updated in a timely fashion. Sometimes an update happens and the app updates and it messes things up. So there are rare times that we have to correct Fish Rules, but it's pretty rare. On one of the YouTube videos, you said the way to set up your line for grouper is using a swivel with a slip sinker and a hook. Why are you using a swivel? Isn't it better to just tie the leader straight to your line and use less hardware? No. Generally, you need to have a swivel because if you were inshore fishing, that would be true. Offshore fishing, deep sea fishing, you're dropping a bait down to bottom. And a lot of times, especially for gags, especially right now, we're going to be trying to target 120, 140 or more foot of water. So if you're fishing in 140 foot of water, dropping a big bait down to bottom, you really need a swivel because hydrodynamic drag is going to make the bait spin. So that swivel allows that spinning to occur while not twisting up your line. If you don't have a swivel, it's a nightmare. It can cause a lot of tangles, a lot of spun up line, and it can really be a challenge. So you definitely need to have the swivel for bottom fishing. Someone asked, did you fix the live wells? Yes, we had a live well issue. Some plumbing broke loose on a rough trip, and it was in a rough place to try to solve that problem. So we ran a week and a half or so without a portion of the live wells running, but We understand it's gag grouper season, and a lot of people are bringing live bait, so we got that all addressed. All the live wells, everything's running strong on the Florida. Will the office be open for business tomorrow? We're open 362 days a year. We're only closed on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. So definitely office will be open 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. this time of year. Have you considered doing the 63-hour trips again? We did 72-hour trips. We've done 63-hour trips. We've done 54-hour trips. We are planning to stick to our 39 and 44-hour trips for now. We are potentially talking about trying to get a new boat into operation, and we have the capacity for growth now with our acquisition of Don's Dock and our spreading across John's Pass. We have some other plans in the works as well. Just things, the sun and the moon, the stars have not lined up as of late, but that is in the plans, and we do plan to expand our schedule and keep things interesting. So definitely never say never, but as of right now, we're no plans for the 63-hour trip right now. Let's see what other questions we have. Somebody on TikTok asked, is snook season open the first week in October? Honestly, I have no idea. So we would have to go back to our Fish Rules app. And I think it's open September through like October 15th, I think. So Josh just did that quickly, but on the Fish Rules app, you want to make sure your location is right. In the upper right-hand corner of the website, it'll show it. If you're on the app, you have to kind of make sure, I think it's in the top or bottom of the app, but you want to make sure that you're in the right location, because if you're looking at federal waters and you're looking up snook, that would be wrong. So we're looking up snook, which we're going to catch from shore or inshore, so we're looking at state water regulations. There's also freshwater, there's also saltwater, so you want to make sure we click saltwater. Then Josh is going to type in snook for us. And let's see. Snook season is, where is season? So, 2024. So, it opened September 1st. Yeah, so I was right. It's open all of September, October, and November. So, it'll be open the next 3 months. You can keep them. So, yes, to answer your question, first week in October, snook will be open. I learned something new tonight as well. I'm sure I remember that. Or I'm sure I saw that last year and just forgot. They changed it a lot.
You said it at the beginning of the show.
I did?
Yeah.
Wow. My memory is very short.
You said snook is open.
Oh, I knew it was open. I just didn't know how long it was open. What is the boat record for red snapper this year? I think 25 pounds on the Flying Hub 2 was the biggest that I remember seeing, but we don't do like a contest or anything, keep it running. But I want to say about 25 pounds this year was the biggest one.
Next year, though.
You never know. How to catch whitebait. We don't really catch whitebait ourselves. We have a bait guy. We got a guy for that. And Brian generally is going to go to an area like a bridge or a marker somewhere where the water's moving and it's concentrating the bait. And you might chum a little bit, and that's going to bring him in and kind of make it possible. Let's do our 5-hour half-day giveaway, and then we got a question or two left before we wrap this thing up. So 5-hour half-day giveaway, lucky winner is... Look at that, Carrie Carty from Bel Air, Florida. She's on a hot streak lately. She caught a 62-pound cobia. She's catching them up, and she won a free 5-hour half day for 2 guests. That'll work out well because I'm sure they have a 39-hour trip scheduled for gag grouper or for amberjack season, or maybe gag grouper season, so they can use that 5-hour half day for 2 to go get some bait ahead of time. Congrats, Carrie and Scott. All right, let's see what other questions do we have. Going on the 39-hour trip next Sunday, how deep are you fishing for gags? About 120, 140 is where we would start, but as deep as 200, maybe even 220. What is your gut telling you about red tide this year? It's always a possibility, right? It's a naturally occurring organism. It's always around. So all we need to do is have the right salinity level and the food present. And we definitely have plenty of food present with all the rain we're having and all the sewage spills that have occurred and all the pollution that occurs. So we have the food, the salinity levels there with the rain. So it's always a possibility. And it's a naturally occurring organism that can bloom at any time. Sometimes it blooms and then goes away. Sometimes it blooms and gets really concentrated in a specific area. Sometimes it blooms and really expands throughout the entire area. But keep in mind, we fish beyond the red tide. So even if red tide happens, we still catch plenty of fish. Our fishery is unaffected in the short term. What happens though, what happens though is our long-term fishery is affected, because if we have a really hardened down red tide in the Back Bay area, that's going to affect the next year after that, the next 2 or 3 years population. That's why we're having a problem with gag grouper. That's why we're having a problem with red grouper. All of that can be linked back to red tide. They did the stock assessments and they actually took into account red tide as a fishing fleet. And the fishing mortality that red tide caused on the gag grouper population is a big reason that we have an overfished and undergoing overfishing red gag grouper biomass. And the spawning potential ratio and spawning stock biomass was suppressed by that red tide fishing fleet, or red tide mortality on the gag grouper. So that red tide that happened in 2014 and 2016 and 2017 and 18 and 2020, those red tides kept hammering these estuaries and estuarian systems that are home to those year 1, year 2, year 3 gag grouper. Those little gag grouper grow up in the back bays and in those mangroves and on those grass flats until they're 10, 12, 14 inches, and then they start to swim offshore. Then they get big, fat, and happy, and then they swim back inshore to get fat and happy before they go offshore to spawn. And that's what we see every year. And unfortunately, those fish kills can take out some serious numbers. And that's what we are experiencing with gag grouper. That's why we have a 15-day season. We're in a rebuilding plan for gag grouper based on those hardened down red tides. But we were having red tides every other year, or sometimes every year, for a span of 7, 8, 10 years. So knock on something hard, we've been pretty blessed as of late, and I'm really hoping that continues. Using my own gear on a 39-hour trip, how much line in the reel, what type and what test? I would stick to monofilament. Monofilament works really well, especially in today's world. Monofilament has advanced so much, and also our rods have gotten so much more sensitive and nice. If you got a nice Bull Bay rod or a Fletcher's custom rod from our shop, one of those custom rods that we had built and designed for offshore fishing, those rods are so sensitive and so good that it doesn't matter. You can be fishing monofilament, you're still going to feel a pinfish fart in 200 foot of water, you know? So you don't really need the braid. You start to need braid more if you're going to be fishing 400 foot or 500 foot. We really don't fish that deep. We only fish about maybe 220, 250 foot at most. So generally, you're going to want at least double that in line. So if your reel holds 300, 400, especially 500 foot of line, you got plenty. But generally, they're going to be about 300 yards. So that's like 600 foot, I think. So that's plenty of line in the water. You're good. Even with 200 yards, you'd be good, right? Because that's 2 times 3, 600 feet. All right, next question. What do we got here? Are you going to start selling reef permits anytime soon? No. We don't sell, we just collect. Kind of like firearms, but that's a whole different show. That's the after show. All right, let's see what other questions we have. How does the birthday package work? The birthday package works I guess the best way to explain it would be go to our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click info. Underneath Marina info, you have the free birthday trip. And the free birthday trip, basically how it works is on your actual birthday. It has to be your actual birthday. If you have someone coming with you who's going to pay a normal price, so bring a friend, have them pay a normal price, you get a free trip. Free 5-hour, free 10-hour, free dolphin cruise, free shelling trip. Whatever trip you want to do, As long as it's not a specialty trip, it's completely free for you on your actual birthday. If you have someone going with you who pays full price. Now, if you do a specialty trip, 12-hour extreme, 12-hour night, 39, 44-hour, you get up to a 10-hour trip cost off that trip. So you get $139.95 off your 39-hour or whatever other trip you do. But also, what does that say? I can't read that.
Can I use the hogfish on the logo for a tattoo?
Ooh, tattoo question. So, under info, go to Marina info and go to Hubbard's Marina Tattoos. That's right. We've got a whole new website built just for you. So here's the guidelines, the rules, the suggestions, and then a gallery of all the fine people that have joined the family, have inducted into the brotherhood, if you will. And these are all the different logos and examples of tattoos. Remember, it's got to be lower arm or lower leg. There's size requirement, just has to be dominant in size, because my forearm might be a little bit bigger than someone else's forearm who is maybe 140 pounds, right? I'm 270 pounds. So it depends on your size, your anatomical structure. So we don't dictate it has to be 4 inches. It has to be 6 inches. It just has to be dominant. So check out the website. It answers a lot of questions. You can use the Hogfish t-shirt. Some people, I think someone's doing the Hogfish t-shirt right now, where they're getting that Hogfish Bone t-shirt, Hubbard's Marina. I've had somebody talk about doing the Lady Anglers design. So there's a lot of options out there. And basically, our stickers, our t-shirts. We've even had some people, I think one of these, let me show you. One of these is, did I pass it? Oh, this one right here. So this one is not one of our designs. This was something that they came up with. They drew and they had done. So I'm pretty flexible. I'm really just looking for the Hubbards and Marina. You could put, within reason, virtually anything in there, whether it's a grouper, snapper, hogfish, mermaid, other design, whatever. As long as it's got the Hubbards, the Marina. If you want to add John's Pass, you can. Some people have added Madeira Beach. Some people have added the if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. I think the one guy has said you're just too damn busy. Shout out to Orlando. But yeah, you could definitely change it up. But before you get it permanently inked on your body, maybe shoot me an email with your sketch, your idea, just so we're on the same page. All right. But yeah, check out the website. It's going to have the best information. Oh, great question. Will the state ever dredge around your dock? So what's comical about the whole sand update, so we looked it up. It was September of 2022. We stood on the steps of the Madeira Beach City Hall with a big oversized check for $1.55 million. And I thought we were done. We got the money from the state, and I thought we were done. I thought we were there. But unfortunately, getting the money is only half the battle. Now the battle is getting the city's manager to answer a phone call or a text message or to take a meeting. Unfortunately, it's just been totally absent. And he's been telling me since he got hired that, oh, we're waiting on Army Corps. We're waiting on Army Corps. I've been in countless meetings with him, the Chamber of Commerce board meetings, the city meetings, other chamber meetings, virtually any event I'm at where the city manager, Robin Gomez, is at of Madeira Beach. I ask him about the dredge, and he says, hey, man, we're waiting on Army Corps. It's going to be any time now. For the last 6 months, he's been saying, oh, Army Corps will sign it any day now. We'll start the project next month. He's been saying that for 8 months. Come to find out, we just got an email from the Army Corps showing that the application was literally just filed in July of 2024. So we got the money in September of 2022, and it took until July of 2024 for the city of Madeira Beach's city manager to get that application filed. So almost 2 years. Is that incompetence? Is it negligence? Is it apathy? Is it what is it? What's the deal? Won't answer my phone calls, won't take my text messages, and the 2 meetings that I was supposed to be at, that he was supposed to be at as well, he unfortunately has missed. So I'm excited to get a chance to catch up to him and ask him face to face, what's up, dude? What's the deal? So that's the update with the sand, is good old government hard at work, taking 2 years to simply apply for an application. Pretty insanely frustrating. And I've been talking to our state representative, Linda Cheney, who is a total bad to the bone, awesome person. You meet a lot of people in politics that make you very jaded and like, oh, that's a politician. Like, they literally are shaking my hand and kissing my baby just because they want a check or a donation or they want to get reelected. And then you meet people in politics that actually care. And this woman is definitely one of them. She told me that she will have to call multiple times to give the city money. So when appropriations are happening and literally a form has to be signed by the city manager and submitted so the state can give them millions of dollars, she has to call him multiple weeks in a row and chase him down so he will sign a piece of paper to get the city millions of dollars from the state.
She can call me.
I know, right?
I'll take it.
And you know what the pay is for some of these city managers? The city of Treasure Island just hired a new city manager. They hired a guy from Montana. Never been a city manager before, ever. So he has 0 experience. He's not accredited. And he's from Montana. No coastal experience. So never been a city manager, no coastal experience, not accredited. Hired this dude. You know how much money they gave him to run Treasure Island, Florida, which is a very small city?
1.2.
Oh, well, not that much money, Josh. $220,000. And they gave him a car, and they gave him a moving package. The whole compensation package is like almost $300K.
So you got about $1 million.
Dang. No experience. So we're in the wrong line of work, folks. We need to start working for some cities or some counties or some state municipalities, because apparently you don't have to do your fucking job.
Hashtag Josh for
All right. Who brought up the sand issue? Now we're 10 minutes over, and I'm upset. All right. Well, we covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. One last thing is I wanted to make sure we give a shout out to Amendment number 2. It's coming up. Amendment 2 is going to be on the ballot November 5th. Make sure you vote yes on 2. If you're a Florida voter, it is the right to hunt and fish. It is super important. We want to make the right to hunt and fish a right and not a privilege. We'll be the 24th state to do it. It's not something new. It's not something scary. It is written by fishermen, for fishermen, written by hunters, for hunters. This is not some scary political nonsense with a bunch of pork fat added into the amendment that you have to be scared of. What are you signing for? What are you endorsing? This is simple. 2 sentences, maybe. I think it might be 3 sentences, but it's a very, very small amount of words. There's nothing hidden in there. It is simply enshrining the right to hunt and fish into our Constitution. So vote yes on 2, please, this November 5th. Now, with that, we've covered everything. Our supporters after show will start at 8:55 supporters after show. Make sure you join us. Again, supporters after show, 8:55. It's only $4.99 a month, and it is really, really awesome. And you get some behind-the-scenes info, you get some advanced communication, and you get some supporters after show fun. Again, only $4.99. So join us in the supporters group for the after show. It is, again, starting at 8:55. Josh is going to drop the link in the chat if you want to join. It's just hubbardsmarina.com/supporters. Check it out. And with that, we'll close out the show. Thanks for watching, y'all. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Let's see who won our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one lucky winner is... Drum roll, please. Dan Dodge. Congratulations from Michigan. you are the lucky winner tonight. 5 minutes or less. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Again, you've got exactly 15 days for Gag Grouper. We'll see you next Sunday, 7:30 p.m. for another episode of the live stream show. Every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Make sure you tell a friend. The show is free. It's free to watch, free to join. You can win $1,500 in free stuff. Big shout out to Gator Jim's Tackle for making it possible and doing so much for us to fuel the show. Big shout out to our supporters for helping to fuel the show and make this possible, and also Innovative Pools and Spas for joining us as a giveaway sponsor. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. We'll see you next week at 7:30 p.m. Thanks for watching.